Hello crafters! Welcome to Code Crafters, where we simplify those tricky programming concepts and make them beginner friendly. Today, we're talking about the for loop. It's one of the most fundamental concepts in programming, and by the end of the session, you'll know exactly how it works and where you can use it. Let's dive right in. Alright, first things first, what is a for loop? Simply put, it's a way to repeat a block of code multiple times. Think of it like a tool that automates repetitive tasks. Instead of writing the same code again and again, you can use a for loop to handle it for you. It's especially useful when you already know how many times the code should run. For instance, if you want to print something 10 times or process every item in a list, a for loop makes it quick and easy. Now, let's talk about the structure of a for loop. This loop has three main parts, which are written together in a single line in many programming languages. The first part is the initialization. Here, you set up a variable, often called a counter or iterator, and give it a starting value. The second part is the condition. This decides how long the loop should run. As long as this condition is true, the loop will keep executing. The third part is the update. After each iteration, the counter variable is updated, usually by incrementing or decrementing it. Initialization, int I equals 0. This creates a variable I and sets its value to 0. We'll use this variable to control the loop and keep track of how many times it runs. Condition, I is less than 5. This is the condition that the loop checks before running. It asks, is I less than 5? If the answer is yes, the loop will run. If the answer is no, the loop stops. Update, I++. This part happens at the end of each loop iteration. It increases the value of I by 1. It's the same as writing I equals I plus 1. Code inside the loop, cout hello. This is the action that happens every time the loop runs. In this case, it prints the word hello to the console. These three parts, initialization, condition, and update, are the backbone of the for loop. Let's break it down step by step to see how a for loop works. Step 1, the loop starts with initialization. This is where the iterator variable gets its starting value. Step 2, before running the code inside the loop, the program checks the condition. If it's true, the loop continues; if it's false, the loop stops. Step 3, once the condition is met, the code block inside the loop runs. Step 4, after the code block is executed, the iterator variable is updated, usually by adding or subtracting a value. Step 5, the condition is checked again, and this cycle repeats until the condition evaluates to false. When that happens, the loop terminates, and the program moves on to the next part of the code. Does that make sense so far? Great. Let's move on. So, why do we even need for loops? Well, they make your code more efficient and easier to read. Instead of writing 100 lines to do the same task repeatedly, you can achieve it in just a few lines. For loops are especially handy when you're working with collections of data, like arrays or lists. They allow you to go through each item one by one and perform actions on them. Now, let's look at some of the key features of a for loop. First, it has a compact and clear syntax. All the important components, initialization, condition, and update, are in one place, making it easy to understand. Second, it gives you predictable execution. You know exactly how many times the loop will run, which makes it reliable. Third, it's versatile. Whether you're working with numbers, strings, or even files, a for loop can handle it all. Let me share some common scenarios where you'd use a for loop. Repeating a block of code for a fixed number of times. Accessing and processing each element in an array or a list. Iterating over characters in a string or items in a sequence. Running calculations or applying logic to a group of items. In short, if there's any task that involves repetition, a for loop is probably the best tool for the job. And that's everything you need to know about the for loop. To sum up, a for loop is a powerful tool for automating repetitive tasks, iterating over data, and keeping your code clean and efficient. If you found this session helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow crafters. Keep practicing, and you'll master this concept in no time. Next video will contain C++ practice programs of for loop. Stay tuned.